So, folk, can you start with just telling me a little bit about your childhood?
My childhood. All right. Well, I grew up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Born in the very early 80s. Yeah, kind of suburban middle class kind of lifestyle. Um, yeah, lived that dream.
Good family? How was it? How was your family?
Pretty decent family, yeah. Can't really complain. Yeah, still have a pretty decent relationship with my parents. Like it got a little nuts when I was a teenager, but it's kind of what happens when you are a teenager. I think you kind of rebel against your parents, and mistake their love for something else, I guess. But yeah, the childhood, not much to report really. Just kind of standard, normal. I was a weird kid. Yeah, by the time I got into junior high, I think that's when I realized I wasn't like everyone else. That's when I kind of was searching for something else. That's when I like got into bands like Nirvana or like got into like kind of shittier heavy metal until I discovered the good stuff. But listening to the Metallica Black album and going, yeah, these guys get me, man. Listening to Nirvana, feeling the same way, and yeah, I don't know. By the time I was almost done junior high, that's probably about the time Offspring and Green Day kind of blew up, and I heard them, and just that started the wormhole, and that got me into punk, which guided me to where I am today, and made me even more of a fucking weirdo, and made me feel okay with it, made me feel happy and more confident about it, and was like, yeah, if you don't get it, fuck you. I don't care. I'm a weirdo. So, yeah, that was my childhood right there. I guess.
Fuck yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
So, what was high school like for you?
Uh, First couple of years of high school, grade 10, grade 11. We say grade 10 and grade 11, not 10th and 11th grade like you do down here. In Canada, we say grade 10 or whatever. But yeah, it was weird. It was kind of difficult, like I said, that's about the time I was getting into punk rock, and showing up to high school like grade 10 right after Christmas break with a fresh mohawk that was purple, really poorly charged. Like looking back, I recognize that I probably did deserve to get made fun of because it looked so stupid. But yeah, I learned fast that people in Calgary, Alberta in 1996 or so were, for the most part, pretty ignorant, especially in my high school of like, God, I don't know how many people, 2,500 people or so. I probably had a group of maybe 4 or 5 friends who, were like, leave him alone. And I'm like, yeah, leave me alone, as I get pushed into a locker and called a fag. And, but around that same time, that's when I discovered the all ages punk rock scene in Calgary. Yeah, I would just seek out any kind of musical knowledge, and I'm not sure how exactly, but I picked up one of those like weekly or monthly newspapers, like the college newspaper. I think it was called Vox at that time, from the University of Calgary, and they would have a little section in it for all ages shows coming up, and yeah, so I just went to everything I could. Didn't matter if it was punk or whatever. I was just all ages. It's a concert? Whoa, cool, I better go. And took a while, and then one day SNFU came to Calgary and played a club called the Republic, which is I don't think it's around anymore. Don't look it up. But I remember my parents dropping me off at that show, and I was so excited about it. I was like, yeah, it's a punk show, and like people just go nuts, and like we mosh. Like I showed them videos of people moshing because that was new and wacky to me, and my parents never heard of it. And they dropped me off, and it was just a line around the block of all just scummy looking dudes. And they went, okay, so you're gonna be rubbing against all these disgusting dudes watching some band? I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. And that leads me to believe that my parents were thinking that they were raising a homosexual son. And they were not thrilled about that. Like I said, mid-90s, Calgary, Alberta, kind of rednecky, lots of cowboy kind of vibes. Anyways, saw SNFU, and it was probably the best, like, up until that point, that was the best thing I ever saw in my entire life. It just was worlds different than seeing Green Day at the Calgary Saddle Dome like a year before, you know, being like 500 feet away from Billy Joe or something, just like, oh yeah, this is awesome. From that to seeing Chai Pig like 4 feet away from me spitting fucking Cheerios on me. And I was like, this is insane. And from that moment, there was no turning back. And I just doubled down. And you asked me what high school was like. That was basically the turning point in my high school career, where I was like, fuck you, I don't give a fuck. This is who I am. You know, someone like, you know, the jocks or fucking, you know, just assholes in my school would push me around or something and be like, fuck you, man. Like, at least I know who I am. Who the fuck are you? Come grade 12, I finally had enough of public school. So I went to an alternative high school for grade 12, aptly named Alternative High. And that was pretty cool. That was like a set your own kind of pace, like learn at your own pace kind of deal. You know, calling your teachers by their first name. If you didn't want to show up to class, you just say, hey, I don't want to be in class today. See ya. Like, nothing like that. And it's a better way to learn. Like, I don't know, looking back, would have been nice to have more or I don't know. I wouldn't say more rules, but, you know, when I was left to my own devices, I was like, well, I don't have to read this, so I'm not going to read it. It didn't really benefit me. But that being said, I'm 43 years old now, and I've never needed to show my high school diploma to anyone. It didn't matter. I did not need to graduate. I didn't need to spend all those years in high school wasting away. But that being said, there were a lot of degenerates, weirdos, punks, queers at Alternative High, and I made a lot of connections. Some of those people I still talk to, and some I don't, but it was great, you know. Like, a lot of the punk scene went to that school, and that's where I actually learned a lot. Not so much academically, but personally and punk wise. Lots of, I guess, politically speaking, I learned a lot, and yeah, that was my high school life.
Awesome, man. So what was your first punk band like?
My first punk band was, I don't know if you could call it a punk band. Before I discovered punk, I was, you know, like I said, getting into Nirvana and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, like grungy.
Yeah. So my friend learned how to play drums, and I learned how to play electric guitar, and we would just, you know, jam Nirvana songs or whatever. And we eventually started writing songs, and none of them were really that good. I mean, we were 14 or something at that time, but I don't know. That was how I cut my teeth on learning how to write music and how to write a catchy tune or whatever. Yeah, and then we found a bass player and decided to be a real band, and we went with the name Dead Lucy. I don't know why we picked that, but that's what we were called. And we played our first show, I want to say it was 1997, probably January 1997. Actually, a couple weeks ago, I was at my parents' house in Calgary, and I was looking through all my old things, and I found the flyer for that show. So I can find the exact date later and show you the flyer. But it was with a band called the Primrods from Calgary.
Where?
It was at a place called Carpenter's Union Hall. And this place was really special to me. That's the place. That was... So after I saw SNFU at the Republic, which was your basic run-of-the-mill club, good sound system, stage, whatever, shit like that. But then I discovered a place called Carpenter's Union Hall. And it was, like the name implies, a Carpenter's Union Hall. It was a giant all-ages hall. Go in, hardwood floors, fluorescent lights. There's a stage, but no one would ever use it. Anyways, it was Boxing Day, December 26th of 1996. For months before that, Rancid came to town with AFI at the And Out Come the Wolves tour. And the punks, the real punks of Calgary, had flyers for the Boxing Day show. And we're giving them out to everyone who was there. It was basically a sold-out show. I don't know, 5,000 people, something like that. Everyone had a flyer. So me and my friends were like, well, one friend, were like, yeah, let's fucking go to this. Yeah. And we went, and man, like that, almost that entire Rancid show was there. Like, I'm exaggerating, but that was one of the biggest, like, all ages, all local band show that I've ever seen to this day. Like, it was insane. And that was another turning point when I was like, okay, so I discovered like hardcore, I discovered punk, I discovered SNFU, I discovered shows, but now I've discovered, whoa, like this is put on by that guy over there with the mohawk and the fucking trench coat, and his friend was doing sound, and they did this themselves. And I introduced myself and talked to them, and they were like, oh yeah, this is what we do. And I went, okay, how does my band get a show? And they just said, keep showing up, man. Keep showing up to all the shows. Here's a flyer for the next one. Just keep coming. And, you know, if you want to help out, but, you know, just be around and we'll ask your band to play. And eventually they gave me a gig. They gave my band a gig. And, I mean, it was probably pretty hard to watch for everyone who was there. Our bass player's whole entire family were there, and I do remember like his aunt or uncle or some shit like holding a camera. So there probably is footage of that kicking around somewhere on this planet. I don't even remember the guy's name. His name is Jesse. But Jesse, if you're watching, dude, get in contact. Anyway, so that was Dead Lucy. That was my first band. Yeah, we tried to keep that going for a while, had lineup changes, and we just, you know, eventually just broke up. So we only played the one show, didn't record anything, and but I didn't let that stop me, and, you know, from there I played in a million different bands.
Yeah, well, what are some of the highlights out of the bands that you've been in so far?
Jesus Christ. Well, it's been a long road. Well, I guess after Dead Lucy, the band that did more or whatever, I guess, we were called the Alex P. Keatons, named after Michael J. Fox's character on Family Ties.
Nice.
Kind of a deep cut that only Gen X or boomers might recognize, but Family Ties, check it out. So we played a brand of, I don't know, like awkward teenage punk hardcore, you know, where, you know what it's like when you just discover punk and you hear AFI and then you hear Crass and then you hear Os Rotten and then you hear Discharge, but then you hear like Born Against and then you hear the emo, screamo-y bands that were around at that time, like Iconoclast or Downcast or The Struggle, bands like that. So we were confused teenagers. We didn't know what to play. So it was a weird offshoot of, like, you can hear our demo. It's actually someone uploaded it on YouTube, which is funny. But yeah, it's just all over the fucking place, and it shows who we were at that time. And yeah, I recorded that demo. That was the first time I went into a studio. It was some guy's basement, but it was my first time recording. And we put out an 11-song demo tape, and that was, up to that point, that's how I basically ended out my high school career, was doing that tape. And then I moved to Vancouver, BC. And the band just broke up. Everyone went their own ways. Anyway, the question was about other bands that stand out, eh?
Well, no, what happened after that then? So you went to Vancouver? And
yeah, I went to Vancouver, dicked around for a long time, trying to find my footing. I don't even know what drew me there in the first place, really. I just I was sick of Calgary. I hated it at that time. Like I said, it was very rednecky. I didn't feel like, I think now it's changed a bit, but in the 90s, it was just a hard place to stay creative and inspired and feel like you can escape, you know? Like most bands would kind of just start, play in Calgary, stay in Calgary, die in Calgary. With few exceptions. Chupacabra is one of them. They were probably the first Calgary band to tour the U.S. and like get known and put out records and shit. But I felt like I hit my climax in Calgary and wanted something different. So I moved to Vancouver, tried out a few bands here and there, did a few tours, just fucking kept at it. Nothing really clicked too much. And I joined a band called The Attack, which I sang in. And we did like a couple of really big tours, put out a 7-inch, and eventually broke up, as most bands do, and just went on from there. Let's see, a couple of the more notable bands. Like I said, I've been in a ton of bands of different genres and shit. But I guess Limb from Limb was probably the next biggest band. Like we put out an LP and a 7-inch. Did a couple like West Coast tours, toured Europe pretty extensively. Yeah, that was cool. Started a record label around that time that was more or less successful. I don't know. It was called Charged and Distorted. Around that time too, I started booking shows in Vancouver. Yeah, when I moved there was a scene, but there were two scenes. There was like the all ages kind of hardcore scene in North Vancouver, like over the bridge, where it was more suburban teenage scene. But then in East Vancouver, there was the Submission Hold people. They were the ones that did everything, usually at their house, which was a tiny basement. The shows weren't really well advertised or well attended or anything, but so I had some pretty rad shows there. And getting to know the people from Submission Hold. It's debatable whether or not that band holds the test of time. They were a little bit wacky. I don't know if you're familiar with them. I'm sure people watching this may or may not be. They were an anarcho-punk band with hardcore tendencies, but they incorporated a lot of wacky shit. You know, they'd have a flute here and there, or a sax, or like just weird shit. But very staunch political lyrics and standings, and that was probably my first ever experience of a punk house and what a true punk house could be. You know, hosting bands, having vegan potlucks, doing Food Not Bombs out of it, shit like that. But yeah, they formed a lot of my my ethics that still hold to this day. But I noticed that Vancouver needed something more. Like, we needed to branch out. Like, we couldn't just let punk live and die in this fucking house. So I started booking shows, getting in contact with bands who would generally skip crossing the border because it's a hassle. But find out about bands doing West Coast tours, and I'd be like, well, okay, like, this band's fucking playing in Seattle. I'm going to get in contact, bring them up to Vancouver. And yeah, I started doing that, started booking shows, started doing a festival called Distort Vancouver Fest. And that's about the time I had Limb from Limb going. And yeah, did a lot with that band, which is cool. Eventually that band broke up. We started kind of going different directions. Our guitar player got way into death metal, and it wasn't really my jam at that time. So we just kind of broke it off, started a kind of DBD kind of hardcore band called Fear of Tomorrow. Toured extensively with them. That's where I met you, I believe. Around that time, I would tour with the old Seattle crust band Sanctum as well. You remember? Yeah. I toured with them a lot.
That was where I remember meeting you.
Yeah, I think that's it, actually.
You've been on the Sanctum Stormcrow tour.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, so I did multiple tours with them, toured Europe with them.
How was that? How was touring with them?
It was interesting. It was interesting. Yeah, you know, years of being able to look back and years of legends growing or dissipating. You know, the band had a really bad reputation, especially in Europe. You know, we were all young. We were all really drunk all the fucking time. I would say that, like, a couple of the dudes in Sanctum would fight a lot, and, like, publicly too, and, like, embarrassingly. So, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the stories kind of got blown out of proportion. Some of it's probably well deserved, but it was weird. This is like before social media really took a strong hold as well. So it was kind of interesting to see when we tour Europe. You know, you'd play Prague, and then the next day play somewhere in Poland, and then like Warsaw or something, and someone would come up and go, "Oh, I heard about you guys. Like, I heard you were assholes." It's like, well, how did you hear that? "Oh, our friends in Prague told us you're assholes." And I'm like, I guess, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you here. I believe we were in Bremen, Germany, and this guy I became friends with eventually. I haven't talked to him in years, Steckel. He came up to me at the merch table and he went, "I heard that you are the cool one from the group." I was like, I definitely wouldn't go that far, but I'll take it. Yeah, so that was interesting. I was with them when they broke up, which was really fun. We were in Indianapolis, Indiana, and it was my birthday. This had to have been 2008, I want to say. So I was probably turning 28 that day. They played an alright show. We went to a bar. Everyone got fucked up. And yeah, Nick and Jeremy kind of got into it again, started arguing. I was like, "You guys need to shut the fuck up. Like, stop arguing in public." I don't know if I'm talking too much shit. Maybe we should cut some of this out. But
yeah, go for it.
but yeah, I was like, "Fuck, man! Like, you can't." Man, people think you guys are dicks because this is how you treat each other, and it's fucked up. Like, stop doing it. And then I believe it was Jeremy who was like, "All right, that's it. We're breaking up. We're done. We're driving back to Seattle right now." And I was like, "Yeah, bullshit." And he's like, "No, we're doing it." Went back to the house, and they packed up the van, threw in all the gear, and they're like, "All right, FOAT, come in." And I was all hammered. I didn't want to be around anyone. And I was like, "You know what? Just go. Have fun." And they're like, "What? No, we're going." And I'm like, "I'll find my own way home. Just fuck you guys. See ya." And
Nice.
yeah, I mean, we all hugged. We left on relatively good terms, but in the morning I woke up and I was like, "Whoa, that was kind of a fucked up dream." I wonder where Nick is. I wonder where Andy is, or Rochelle. Or no, Rochelle wasn't with us at that time. But we were like, "What the?" Or I was like, "Oh, where is everyone? I want to go get a cup of coffee or something. Go find a 7-Eleven." Shit. And one of the guys from the house who stayed, I came down and he was like, "What the fuck are you still doing here?" I'm like, "I don't know." I think the band left me. And he was like, "Well, ain't that some shit?" I'm like, "What's there to do in Indianapolis?"
Oh,
and he was like, "Nothing." I'm like, "Fuck, I wonder what the Zero Boys did when they were around." Like, fuck, huh. Well, okay. So I just went on an insane adventure. I was like, "Well, I'm just not going to let the tour end. I got a credit card. Fuck it." So I busted to Richmond, Virginia, went to Collapse Fest where Sanctum were supposed to play. Met a lot of really awesome people. Met a lot of great bands who I'm still friends with to this day. And got a ride up to New York with Atake. Hung out there for a while. Found out Motorhead was playing a free show in Austin, Texas. So I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna fly to Austin, Texas." Flew there, saw Saw Motorhead for free with Napalm Death and High on Fire. That was fucked up. And it was for South by Southwest. Saw a lot of great shows. Hung out there, made a lot of other friends who I'm still really good buddies with to this day. But yeah, that's funny because when I think about Sanctum, I also think about the awesome the chaos of finding like extreme happiness in extreme fucked up situations. Kind of taught me a lot, and just how to deal with that kind of shit. How to turn that frown upside down, if you will. I don't know what you mean, or if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's the tale of Sanctum.
Yeah. So how did you get back home?
Eventually, I flew back to Portland. Mass Grave and Stormcrow were playing a show together here, so fuck it, I'll fly to Portland, do that. Now I was dating a girl from down here, and so she was like, well, I'll drive you back up to Vancouver, and drove me back up to Van, and then I was home sweet home and in debt for a very, 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 very long time. But you know what? Fuck it. It was worth it. So I think around that time, that was probably about when Limb from Limb called it, like probably that year. And then Fear of Tomorrow started, did that for a couple of years. And then we just kind of fizzled out. There was another band in Vancouver around that time called Unlearn. And they were like the other raw D-beat punk band or whatever from Vancouver at that time. I guess we had kind of a friendly little rivalry. They were a lot better than us, for sure, in hindsight, as much as I hate to admit it. But that band fizzled out, and Nick Greco, the drummer from Unlearn, was just hanging out at the jam space one night. Me and Hesher from Fear of Tomorrow were just hanging around waiting for our bandmates, and we're like, they're all late. Hey, Nick, what are you doing? Fucking grab a guitar. And he was like, okay. And then we started a band called Total War that day. And that band, popped off for a minute, maybe a good year or two. Then Nick moved to Edmonton, started Languid. And I started a band called Despair, which was unapologetically discharged fucking worship.
I love that band so much.
Yeah,
I still listen to it.
That's awesome.
I have the tape over there, actually.
Nice. Yeah, that was a fun band. We only played 2 shows, but
did you really?
Yeah, we played. I lived in a house and we got evicted, so we had an eviction party. So it was Despair and Pyromania, because I lived with a bass player from Pyromania. So we were like, let's just do a 2-band show here. And then did a show for Warcry.
That was the one I saw you at.
That was that was Bolt Thrower were coming up to town.
We saw Bolt Thrower.
Yeah,
let's see.
Yeah. So I billed it as a pre-Bolt Thrower show because I don't think they played any American dates on that tour, right?
They didn't play many shows. I think they played MDF, maybe. Yeah,
so I think like Vancouver was the only Pacific Northwest show. So everyone from Portland were coming up, everyone from Seattle. So it's like, well, everyone from Warcry is going to be up here anyway. Let's fucking have them play. And Languid, Chapel, who are a great new wave British heavy metal style band from Vancouver.
That was an amazing show.
Yeah, it was a great
both
show.
Of them.
Yeah,
that one and the Bolt Thrower show.
Yeah. So then we played that show. John, our singer, he's an American, and his wife was like, that's it. And dumped him, and he moved back. Then he moved to Portland, and then I met a lady, fell in love, and followed suit. I moved down to Portland, too. And so that's how Despair ended. Sat around here for a while trying to find my footing. Took a minute, but... joined the band Dead Hunt playing bass.
What did Dead Hunt do?
They did a demo before I joined, and then we got Jamie Byram on drums soon after I joined, and we became a way tighter unit, I suppose. Put out an LP, and then did a European tour. came back and just kind of fizzled out. I think we kind of realized it was like just kind of a weird dynamic, and it just stopped kind of working. Yeah, unfortunately. But I mean, everyone from that band started their own thing or joined other bands. Like Kirby joined Donova, Kevin's in Decomp, your old band.
My old band.
Yeah, and yeah, was in another band called False Ritual with a couple friends. Put out a 7-inch and a flexi. Did one West Coast tour. That was cool. Then the pandemic hit and kind of fizzled the band out a bit. Like, I just think we all kind of lost steam. Keith started Crucified Class and put it more into that, so we just kind of let that go. And then recently I started a new band called MALAKILI with some good friends. Yeah, I kind of went a couple of years without playing music, and I thought I was okay with it, you know. And I was okay with it. I kind of came to peace. But yeah, just recently I had some fire under my ass. It was actually when I went up to visit Hesher, who was in Fear of Tomorrow and Total War with me. He stopped playing music for a while too. He was in Mass Grave playing drums, and he quit recently and moved up, like way up north to the Sunshine Coast, kind of out of the city. But he was talking about how he was walking down the street and someone recognized his War Cry shirt, and he was like, "Oh, cool, you're into punk? Let's start a band." And
That's awesome.
Started a band in a fucking little island, not really an island, but a peninsula kind of town, and it was pretty inspiring. And then he was just like, "Dude, fucking, let's write some riffs." Like, yeah, get into this, and wrote a couple songs, and then that's when Chuck and Nick asked me to start a band. Then we asked our friend KP to play bass, and the rest is history. We started MALAKILI and recorded a demo, put it out, and just recently recorded an LP. We're just waiting for the artwork, and it's going to be shipped off. Got a new drummer, and it's Jamie, who played in Dead Hunt with me, so it's cool.
Right.
It all kind of goes full circle sometimes.
I want to get some of those records.
Yeah, you will.
Nice.
I'm sure we'll have a lot that won't sell, so you can have them.
Oh, I'm sure they will, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be on Blackwater Records.
That's awesome.
Pretty cool. Yeah,
It's a great record label.
it is.
So I guess let's talk about the fall, right? So how did that? How would you start that story of getting there?
The fall.
Yeah.
I don't know how to start this.
I guess the work history moving to Portland. How did that start?
Yeah. Okay. So probably about 2006, 2007, I got into window cleaning. Doing it high-rise shit, you know, with ropes and harnesses, all that rope access stuff. So I did that in Vancouver for a very long time. Worked many jobs doing it. Came down here. Unfortunately, it took a while to get my work visa and stuff, so I was out of it for a minute. But once I got my citizenship and everything okayed, yeah, that's when I started window cleaning down here, working for some companies, and I kind of realized it wasn't the same as working up in Canada. The pay was a lot different. The gear was a lot different. The safety, my safety concerns were a lot different. It was, I don't know. I just wasn't really happy with any of the window cleaning gigs I had here, and I thought, fuck it, I'm an adult. I'm gonna start my own window cleaning company. So I did that, and it lasted about 3 months. And how it stopped, how the business failed was one day I just, was doing the same thing I always do, just buckling in, fucking using my my descent on my primary line, my safety. Went over the edge of a building, and I just realized that the rope was slipping through my descender. And I was like, well, that's fucked up. Good thing I have a safety. And I looked over, and my safety, the rope was going right through my safety too. To this day, I don't know what the fuck happened. And it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I tell people I think someone like had a voodoo doll or something that day, or like there's a fucking curse. I don't know what the fuck happened, but there I was. I was 8 stories up downtown Portland. This building called the Morgan Building on Madison Street. And I realized, I was like, well, this is it. I'm going to fucking die. This is it. This is the end. So, you know, a 4-second fall probably turned into 15 minutes in my head, you know, just thinking about everything, being like, I'm not ready to die. I don't want to die. I can't leave like this. I can't fucking, you know, like I need to talk to my wife. I need to talk to Jen. Like I need to say goodbye to my friends. I need to say goodbye to my bandmates. Like I need to fucking, I have too many loose ends here. But yeah, probably by the time I was half down, I was like, well, I don't know. That's it, I guess, you know, like I've thought about it many times in my life, you know, I've been there, like, with depression, just being like, well, you know, I'm okay with dying. And yeah, I accepted it. I just went, well, this is it, I'm going to die. And, 2 weeks before that, my dog, who I had for 14 years, Berserker, he passed away. And I just remember my last thought before hitting the ground was like, yeah, maybe I'll get to see Berserker again. And boom, I hit the concrete sidewalk. But as I was falling, I realized that my safety wasn't going to do anything. So I just grabbed onto the fucking rope as tight as I could, just slid down. I could see smoke coming out of my palms as I was going down, thinking all this crazy shit. And yeah, but doing that, I think, kept me upright, so I didn't fall backwards, so I didn't fall on my head or my back or anything. And it slowed me down enough, but I landed on both my heels, like, as you can imagine, as hard as I could. Then I remember standing there being like, holy shit, I didn't die. I landed on my foot. Oh, shit. And then I fell backwards, and then as I was falling backwards, I'm like, and this is where I die. And, like, fell back, hit my head on the pavement, and then I just, like, lied there, fully conscious, just like, okay, fuck, I guess I'm dead. Is this what death is? Opened my eyes, looked around. There's a coffee shop, like, 10 feet away, so all these people were out. It was a nice day. Everyone's outside. All these people swarm around me. There's, like, 20 people all huddled up, and just remember this one business guy's like, oh, are you okay? And I was like, am I alive? And then he's like, dude, you're talking to me. You're alive. And I was like, well, ain't that some fucking shit? What the hell? And I just, like, started laughing. I'm like, no, I'm not alive. And they're like, no, you're alive. Like, how are you feeling? I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel that bad. Like, I could probably get up. I'm not gonna, but I feel like I could. This is fucked up. Could someone call an ambulance? And they're like, yeah, we're working on it. And then I was like, okay, can someone call my wife, please? And everyone's like, yeah, what's her number? This is, what year is that? So this is like 5 years ago, so 2019. Like, I don't know, man. This is 2019. I don't know anybody's phone number. I know my childhood phone number. That's all I have memorized. I don't know her number. But my phone fell out of my pocket, went flying down the street. Someone found it. And they were like, okay, like, what's your password? And I'm like, okay, you scroll down and then to the left. And they're like, I can't figure it out. And there's 20 fucking people. None of them could figure out how to open my goddamn phone. So I had no way of contacting my wife, no contacting Jen. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know how to contact anyone. Oh, well, I guess I'll just roll with it here. The ambulance came, put me on a stretcher, put me inside. And the paramedic was like, dude, when we got the call, I thought I was going to see some gross ass shit. He was like, man, I thought I was going to see like a pile of guts and blood. But you're in one fucking piece. I'm like, yeah, cool. He's like, I don't want to get your hopes up though. You could be internally bleeding. but we're gonna do X-rays. I hope you're fine. Like, just stay with me. I'm like, okay. Went to the hospital, did the X-ray, lied there for what felt like hours. I don't know how long it actually was, but yeah, I was fucked. And they couldn't give me any drugs at that point because they didn't know what was going on with me. They couldn't give me water or anything like that. I just kind of like was like, I'm so fucking thirsty and parched. Ugh. And eventually a nurse came by and was like, okay, I figured it out. I unlocked your phone. You can call your wife. And I'm like, my hands were just shredded. Oh. Like, I don't know if your camera can tell here, but with the scars.
Yeah,
but
I saw them.
Yeah, you saw them at the time.
Melted off.
Yeah, they looked melted off. It looked like I picked up a live grenade and went off. Like, it was fucked up. So I'm just trying to call. And my wife was a night nurse at that time. So this is probably 9 or 10 a.m. And she's asleep because she was working graveyard shift the night before. And I'm like, fuck, call, redial. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I couldn't open up any apps or anything. And then this is when I was in False Ritual, and bing, I got a group text message like, hey guys, here's a fart joke or something. And I went, oh shit. And then I'm like, call Jen. People are, and Nick and Keith were like, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, call Jen. Seriously, please call Jen. Tell her I'm in the hospital. Like, what happened? Then I like figured out how to take a selfie, and I'm like, ugh. And they're like, holy shit, what do we do? And I'm like, call Jen. God damn it, please. And they're like, she's not answering. What do we do? And they were both at work or something and couldn't go to her house. And then remembered that Brian Hopper had a key to our house. So I was like, call Brian Hopper, tell him to go and wake her up and get her over here. And yeah, apparently Jen woke up to a fucking, 7 foot tall Brian Hopper like above her bed, just like, hey, I don't want to startle you, but FOAT's in the hospital. He's okay. He's not dead, but you gotta go. You gotta go to the hospital. And that's how my wife found out about it. And yeah, they wheeled me upstairs finally. They said, hey, you're not internally bleeding. You're gonna live, but your feet are fucked up, and we don't know what else. We're gonna have to do a bunch of fucking tests and scans or whatever. But in the meantime, here's some really fun shit for you to do. And they gave me a fucking drip of Dilaudid. And yeah, the next few weeks was just a lot of like, and then insane night terrors, and then waking up, and a lot of, pissing my fucking bed, my sleep, that kind of shit. It was something, man.
Was that from the drugs or?
From the drugs, probably from the trauma, and just, I don't know. Yeah, couldn't take a shit for like 5 days. Fuck, I don't know. But yeah, it turned out.
How did you figure that out? How did you poop after 5 days?
They were like, well, we're going to have to put a suppository up your asshole and make you shit. And I was like, no, just give me food. Fuck, I don't want you to put shit up my ass.
I would do the same.
Yeah, and then one day I was like, oh, give me a bedpan. And Jen was in there, and I'm like, she gave it to me, and I'm like, get the fuck out. And she's like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, no, get the fuck out. And she's like, yeah, in a second. I'm like, I don't want to take a shit in front of you. And she's like, okay, wait. And I was like, I can't. No, sorry. Yeah, I guess every relationship, that gets serious, I guess you're going to have to see someone take a shit. Or see some things you don't want to see, and she saw it. But yeah, anyway, it turned out I broke my left ankle in like, I don't know, 24 different places or something. The doctor did a little drawing on a whiteboard of it, and it just basically looked like when you punch a fucking mirror or something, it's just like shattered everywhere. He was like, and the good news is on your right foot, you only broke it in 9 places. And the ankle is not a very big fucking part of your body, and when it's broken in that many places, it's fucked up. So I got a lot of screws and bolts and whatever in my feet, and had to teach myself how to walk again. had to do a bunch of physical therapy and continue it on my own, start going to the gym, which was actually, kind of a blessing in disguise because I wouldn't have done that on my own.
Yeah. No, you look good, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a hard time, but I will say that was when I truly discovered the meaning of community at that time. Like, it was really, really special. I don't know, the people who reached out to me, the people who would come and visit me, bring me food, and I don't know, just give me good vibes. My friend Mandy did a lot, like a shit ton for me. Like, she's the best person ever. I love you, Mandy. And she like started to GoFundMe, which I always feel weird about, but that was pretty well needed too, so that was cool. Even my old boss, who I kind of left on bad terms with, he fucking came to a benefit show at Blackwater that they did for me and gave me like $500. I don't know, it was cool. It was nice to see people rally around and just do nice things for people, and I only hope I can repay it, and I wouldn't be where I am without Jen, number one, my wife, and then number two, just the community of punks who came out, like especially the ones in Portland who, really stuck it out for me. It means a lot, and yeah, I just hope I hope I can repay it, and can keep contributing some positive shit, because oftentimes in the punk scene you kind of look down on it, or it's easy to get sucked into the drama and be like, this isn't fucking worth it, man. Like, we're all infighting. Like, I'm sick of looking at Instagram and everyone's fucking calling each other out and like treating each other like garbage, or so much shit talk. But then there's moments like that where it all just kind of clicks and is like, that's why I do this. It's more than just music. Music is number one, it always will be, but like the reason I got into the DIY hardcore punk community was because I was getting something that I didn't get out of high school. I didn't have camaraderie with that many people before discovering punk. And just the feeling of you're not in this alone and we could work this out and I'll support you and you support me, it means more to me than just booking a tour or putting out a record. Like, that's all fucking awesome too, but it's shit like that. When your friend is going through a really hard time, we got them, So that's it's a big thing I got out of it.
That's great, man. That's great.
Yeah.
So I guess, can you tell me a little bit more about the band now? Like, you guys played a fest, right?
Yeah, we've played 8 shows so far. Been a band for about a year and a couple months now. Yeah, like I said earlier, we were waiting for an LP. We recorded it with Evan Mursky down at Red Lantern Studios out of the Blackwater space. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped on it, man. Like I said, I kind of took a break after Dead Hunt and False Ritual. I kind of let the pandemic take over, and I started focusing on other shit. And yeah, I just realized that something was kind of missing, and it was playing music. I needed to keep doing it, and I had all these riffs stockpiled, and it was great to show them to my friends and harness it and work on it. And yeah, I'd say we've been working really hard on it.
What's the songwriting process like for you guys?
So far, a lot of the songs I've had kicking around for years.
Really?
Like, just shit that I've just, like, even when I wasn't playing in bands or anything, I would still, dick around on the guitar and just record on my phone, just riffs or whatever. So I just kind of pieced them all together, and I don't know. When we do start writing songs, they go pretty fast, but we don't write like 10 songs in one practice kind of thing. It's like one song a month kind of thing. So that's good, because at home I just fucking play the same songs I'm working on to show people eventually, or my bandmates eventually. And yeah, so I get a lot of time to think about the riffs and change them up or throw them all out completely, whatever. Or,
So you
yeah,
write the riffs the most, kind of?
Yeah, I write most of the riffs, show them to KP, and she adds her own thing on the bass and gives ideas. We haven't written any new songs with Jamie yet, but when Chuck was in the band, he'd throw out some pretty decent ideas. Some ideas that I was like, yeah, dude. But, that's what being in a band is, It's like, like I would say I'm the primary writer, but I'm not like using my hand of law in anything. It's like, if this sucks, just tell me. We'll change it. And that's what we've done, and I feel like the music kind of speaks for itself. Like I feel like
it's great, man.
I feel like we're tight. We're a tight unit. The four of us are all really really good friends, and we get along, and it's awesome. We flew out to play Skullfest in Pittsburgh, and that was fucking great. It's been a while since I went to a punk fest, and
talk about the fest.
Got kind of the same feeling that I got, with the punk community after my fall. You know what I mean? Like just looking around, being like, this is fucking beautiful. Like half of the Portland punk scene is in Pittsburgh. We're all having a great time. Got friends from like Langwood were there. My friends from Edmonton. Fucking people from all over the goddamn place, all over the world, and it was awesome. Got to see some really, really good bands. Appendix were fucking awesome. Yeah, I don't know. It was great. Good times. And, Christina really knocked it out of the park, and everyone else involved with Skullfest. It was inspiring. Like Pittsburgh has a really strong punk community where from an outsider's perspective, it looks like they have their shit together, and pretty nice to see. Like when I used to do a fest in Vancouver, the Distort Vancouver Fest, it started out with me and Zach, who plays in the Spectres, for the first 5 years, and then we broke off, and then I did 4 just by myself. And though I did have help from a few friends, like it didn't feel like when I see like how it was at Skullfest, I was like, oh shit, like you have a lot of dedicated people working on
this. Like a collective process.
A collective process, yeah. And it was inspiring to see, and I like that about the Pittsburgh punk scene, and I think a lot of scenes can learn from that, working together instead of against each other.
Yeah.
And creating really beautiful shit that brings a lot of friends together to do cool shit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for any new musicians?
Do it.
Absolutely.
Do it. Don't let talent hinder you. Don't let naysayers hinder you, especially. Fuck those people. If your parents are telling you it's a waste of time, or if like if you're a high school kid and all your all the other students are making fun of you for it, fuck them. Who gives a shit? What are they doing? Like, do what you want to do. Follow your heart, and the rest will follow. Fucking pick up a guitar, learn a power chord, fucking listen to the Ramones, learn some riffs, and play with your buddies, and have a fucking good time. And you know what? Play shows. Maybe you'll suck. In fact, you probably will kind of suck, but fuck it. Who am I to judge? Don't listen to my opinion. Just do what you do, and it'll follow. Trust me.
Well said.
Yeah.
I guess last thing I just want to ask you about is what's your experience with psychedelics?
I wouldn't say I use psychedelics often, but when I do, I like them a lot. Mushrooms are extremely fun, but I only do them like once a year, maybe twice a year. Yeah, sometimes not even. I don't know. I'm pretty... drugs in general have never really appealed to me that much, except for mushrooms and the odd time weed, but weed is whatever now,
What would you say the benefits you've gotten out of the mushrooms, or or psychedelics or?
For me, I don't know if I would say I've had so much benefits other than having a really, really, really good time. I've heard it's good for people's mental health or things like that, and I get it. I understand. For me personally, it's 100% recreational. Just let's have a fucking good time. Like MALAKILI played a camping fest in the woods in PL, Washington in the summertime. And it was a 2-day fest, camping out, and we, a bunch of us did mushrooms the whole time. And it was so fucking fun and ridiculous and just, I don't know. It was great. It was super fun. I recommend it. Except it's not for everybody. I understand that. But, if you want to fuck around and mess around, do it. Just be safe about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. Would you consider acid psychedelic?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because I've done acid twice in my life.
How do you feel?
First time it felt amazing. It felt awesome. It was a long time ago, so I can't really remember too much. But I was I was a full grown adult at that point. I was probably 30 the first time I did acid. And I was just like, whoa, what have I been missing out on my whole life? This fucking rules. Then I did MDMA once or twice, and I was like, okay, this is okay. And I feel creepy and weird, and you're just like, whoa, my skin feels good. I don't want to get like that, And also, for me, I like to party. I like to get drunk, whatever. But if I'm at a show or something like that, in general, music is number one. So I don't want to mess around with doing drugs that will kind of take away, almost take away from it. You know what I mean? I feel like if I were to do mushrooms at a Labended Toten show, it wouldn't translate as well, or it would fuck me up. I don't know. Now that I'm saying it out loud, maybe it would be cool. I'm not sure, but I like to take in the experience without being hindered in my mind, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's how I felt about MDMA, because you'd be at a party and people are like, yeah, and I'm like, no, I'd rather just drink a lot of beer and talk your ear off and tell you a really punishing story about it. The second time I did acid was horrible, though. I was visiting my childhood best friend. He played in Dead Lucy with me, actually, and we're still friends. But he was like, hey, I'm house sitting for my buddy. You want to just come to his house and we'll play music and we'll party? And I'm like, okay. So got drunk, dropped acid, and I don't know, it just went wrong. It wasn't fun. No, and then I started puking my guts out. And I was like, oh, shit, man. Then I sat down on the couch, and all I remember is I passed out for maybe an hour. And then I woke up, and my friend was gone. He just dipped out. He went home. And I had no idea where the fuck I was. And I was still on acid. And I'm in this stranger's house, wandering around. I found a Ramones DVD. So I put it in and watched that on acid. And I was like, okay, I think I'm good to go home now. And then I stood up, couldn't focus on anything, looked out the window, and I saw my mom's car that I borrowed to get there. And I was like, could I get in and drive home? I don't even know where I am. Shit. No. So I just lied down, staring at the wall, waiting to come down. It was horrible.
Yeah.
The thing about, if I smoke weed in general, in 2 hours, I'll be fine if I stop. But acid, there's no fucking telling when you're going to come out of that shit.
It can last 12 hours.
Yeah. It probably lasted about 12 to 14 hours for me. It was the worst. So I decided then and there, I'm never doing acid again.
Have you done a microdosing ever?
Of acid or
mushrooms? No, mushrooms.
No.
I recommend it.
Yeah?
Just for the serotonin or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've read a little bit about it, talked to I have a lot of friends who do that.
Yeah. You should check it out.
Maybe I will. Yeah.
Well, anyway, thank you so much, Fo. I mean, this
Yeah.
was amazing. Thank you for telling your story, and we appreciate it. So
Hopefully, I
much.
didn't blab too much.
No, I think that was great.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you.
Hell yeah.
All right, that was fucking good, man.
All right.
Whew, how
Good
long was
job.
that?
That was an hour.
Whew.
Good job.